Okay, I think we're ready to get started. So welcome everybody here in the room and on the Zoom virtually. Thanks for joining us. We are really excited to kick off our Charrette 1 of 3. I know everybody really enjoys the term Charrette, so that's thanks to Chris. My name is Sarah Martz. I'm a new board member with board, was appointed this spring and started my term May 1st. My background is in utility engineering and management. Spent some time at Alliant Energy in various roles, generation with fossil plants, renewables, batteries, distribution automation, grid modernization, and then also worked managing our distribution engineering teams for gas and electric. More recently, I was at Iowa State University as the director of engineering for utility distribution on campus, and that encompassed water, sewer, heating, cooling, gas, and electric. So as you can see, I'm kind of a utility nerd. I like doing kind of learning activities, and so I'm really excited to be part of the study. We can all probably agree that there's a lot changing in the energy industry at the moment in terms of policy, climate goals, customer preference, technology, and we also haven't done a rate making review study in the state for about 20 years, so it seems like a great time to do so. We also have been tasked with a pretty tall order of a pretty broad study in a pretty short amount of time. So we are excited to have all of you and your input. We're excited to have the internal IUB team and London Economics to help with that. So just wanted to kind of introduce, recognize our internal IUB team that's helping on this. Chris Story with our regulatory lawyer, Brenda Biddle with our regulatory analysis group, Mason Bleem is our legislative liaison, and thank them for their work so far and the work they're going to be doing to help with this. And then kick off with introducing our consultant, London Economics International. They'll be doing a more thorough introduction, but just wanted to welcome them to Iowa and thank them for their help on this study. We have Donald, Lynn, and Max with us today, and they will be facilitating the charrette today and tomorrow and helping us get through all the topics. So thank you again all for being here, and I will turn it over to them.
All right, thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Like Sarah said, we are representatives from London Economics International. I'm Donald with my colleagues Len and Max here. We also have some others on the phone as well that you may see at a later date. Just a quick overview for go to the schedule, just for what we're looking to do today. You have the full kind of broken out schedule should be in front of you on the table, but here just for general timing of what we're going to be looking at. There are some breaks built in, since I know that may be a concern. No worries there. And then as well for just kind of going over the study and the purpose of this, I'll pass it over to Max and he can kind of run us through that quickly.
Thank you, Donald. All right, good morning. I'm Max, and I'm currently a consultant at London Economic International, and I focus primarily on the MISO market. And for this project, today, we're all brought together here with House Bill 617, which was approved this May. And a policy objective of that bill or for this project is to ensure safe and reliable and affordable utility service, providing services at rates that are non-discriminatory, just, reasonable, and provide rates that are based on the utility cost of providing these services. And for this project, as outlined here, LEI will be assessing current rate-making laws, procedures, and administrative rules. And we'll also be examining Iowa utility rate and tariff, both on a base rate and total bill basis, including all riders and adjustment clause, and other mechanisms that must be approved by the IOB. We will also be reviewing rate-making laws and procedures of other MISO and or SPPC and consider areas within legislation that may be applicable to Iowa rate-making procedure based on comparable electric, gas, and water industry. And finally, we'll also be identifying potential changes in laws, procedure, or administrative rule to Iowa legislation to support the policy objective. And with the four group of study, we will be obtaining input from you all through multiple public policy charrette like this one. And then all our collaboration will culminate in a delivery of a final report with recommendation regarding policy in any area for additional research or investigation. For a brief introduction to LEI, we have around 25 years of experience in the field, and we have been involved in several rate cases, and we have worked extensively with numerous state energy commission and utility. And this slide shows the member of the team who will be working on this project. 3 of us are here today with other colleagues attending this meeting virtually. And for this project, we have assembled a highly skilled team of professionals with extensive qualification in the energy industry and also intimate familiarity with the micro energy market, performance-based regulation analysis, and also exceptional research and writing capability.
And now we'll be discussing about the charrette process and ground rules. So as Max mentioned earlier, one way for us to learn more about the current rate making laws, procedures, and administrative rules here in Iowa, since we're not from Iowa, is to conduct these public policy charrettes. It's a way for us to gather more inputs from you guys, from the stakeholders who are currently affected by these procedures and rules and will be impacted by the recommendation that we will be put forward in the legislative report. Right now, we're still in the gathering information stage, so we do not have any recommendations yet, or will present any views. So our role in this charrette is to listen to you stakeholders and take down notes. We are looking forward to a lively discussion. We will also have 2 more charrettes in the next 2 months. The second one will focus on looking at other states in MISO and SPP, as Max mentioned, and evaluating their rate-making laws and procedures, while the third one will be a discussion on the possible changes in the laws, procedures, or administrative rules that might better advance the policy objectives. So for today, day 1 of the charrette, we will do a town hall style approach where we have prepared some prompts for discussion. These prompts are based on the written comments that we have received last week or earlier this week. The topics for discussion revolve around the issues that we have brought up and raised pertaining to rate-making procedures and laws and rules that are currently in place. In addition, we will also have some prompts on the definition of some terms that we will be using throughout this project and in the succeeding charrettes. In addition, we have also grouped the prompts into 4 parts. So later today, the first part we'll be discussing about the general rate-making procedures. We will have like 2 hours for that discussion. Then it will be followed by industry-specific discussion. So we will have 2 hours for electric and 1 hour each for gas and water. For day 2, which is tomorrow, we will have breakout sessions to provide participants the opportunity to engage in in-depth discussion centered around 4 to 5 questions. These questions are also based on the written comments that we have received. For the in-person participants, we will assign you guys based on your affiliation to ensure that we have a balanced participation, representation of stakeholders in each group. For the virtual participants, Zoom will randomly assign the participants to a group. The number of breakout groups will depend on the number of participants that will be attending tomorrow. Slide, please. So just a few ground rules. If you have any questions, please raise your hand if you want to participate. The same is the case for those who are participating virtually. Please state your name and affiliation when you speak for the first time. For those on Zoom, can we request to please write your name in full as well as your designation after your name? Each participant will have up to 4 minutes to talk on each discussion topic. Please speak loudly because it's a big room, and of course clearly answer the specific question succinctly, and please stick to the discussion subject. We have prepared several prompts, so you will be able to hopefully cover the topics that you want to share. I'll give the next slide to Donald.
All right, so with that said, we will be starting to get into the discussions. Kind of the first prompt and the first discussion, as Len mentioned, will be over general rate making. And so with this first prompt, as Max reviewed earlier, this assessment of Iowa rate making procedures will focus on reviewing the policy objectives defined in House File 617. Specifically, the House file seeks to, 1, ensure utility services that are safe, adequate, reliable, and affordable, provide rates that are non-discriminatory, just, reasonable, and based on the utility's cost of providing service to Iowa customers, and to evaluate the adequacy and efficiency of Iowa's current rate-making laws. We as LEI view the concepts behind the policy objectives as essentially identifying important criteria for this investigation. Therefore, it would be important to have a common understanding or definition of what is meant by each of the terms included. All right. And so we would like to start the discussion and get collective feedback from stakeholders on the following terms. To start, with respect to utility services, how should we evaluate safety? And so this kind of is the first prompt that we are proposing for kind of a roundtable discussion of definitions for each of these specific terms. So beginning with safety, I can provide a background definition of what we mean by that. So for example, safety is defined in industry terms as facilities operate accordingly to safety standards. It's for the purpose of our review and for understanding more about how to go deeper into the Iowa rate making procedures. How do you as the stakeholders view safety, and how should it be defined when evaluating the policy objectives as identified before? I'll open the floor.
And if I could just suggest, if you don't want to raise your hand, put your table tent on its side, and that could also signal that you've got a comment.
I'll start. So Cecil Wright, I'm representing myself as a ratepayer, and also my opinions are based upon my years of experience working for the Missouri Public Service Commission and the Iowa Utilities Board. I think for safety, it's basically that the facilities provided by the rate regulated utilities meet the state and federal standards that are established nationally and by the state regulations. I think that's basically what it is. I don't think it's a difficult definition. I think there are national standards for electric, gas, water, and I think meeting those standards is what's required for safety.
I'll add that. Jeff Ripp, Alliant Energy, Director of Regulatory Strategy. Cecil, you said it well. I think one area that's changing as we think about the future is cybersecurity and the role of cyber in safety. So we think about safety in terms of, not electrocuting people, not having gas leaks, not having water that people are ingesting that maybe wouldn't be safe. But cyber is becoming a bigger issue. So I just incorporate that definition or broaden that definition to include that.
Okay. If there are no other comments, we can move on to the next term for definition for reliability. Again, as a background definition for that, apologies. So typically it's considered as the continuity of electric service experienced by retail customers. Is there any views on how reliability should be Yes.
Good. You got one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Dustin Miller with IBEC, which is the Iowa Business Energy Coalition. We represent 11 large industrial users. Reliability for us as a customer is connected to safety because, best case scenario in reliability is somebody has time to shut down. But if there isn't reliable service, the worst case scenario for some of my members is harm to employees and even potential death. So reliability and safety for us go hand in hand. And so it's not just a matter of operations and functions of our businesses, but it's also should be viewed from us for both of those things.
I see we also have a raised hand on Zoom from Michael Goggin. If you want to jump in now, please.
Yeah, hi, Michael Goggin with Grid Strategies. I'm a consultant to Sierra Club, EIC, ELPC. Yeah, thanks for having me. I work a lot on reliability issues and have served on a number of committees at NERC and elsewhere on these issues. And yeah, I think in general, for the customer, there are several ways to measure reliability. Loss of load expectation, expected unserved energy, and then obviously depending on the type of customer, the impact of an outage, varies pretty significantly in terms of the cost. Industrial customers, momentary outages can be very expensive. For residential customers, that's less the case, but longer duration outages become, quite burdensome. And so, but I think you can kind of build an aggregate damage function, kind of combining some of those, the frequency and the duration of outages. Obviously on the bulk power system side, the things that are needed to maintain reliability for customers, basically, the big elements there are maintaining electricity supply and demand so that frequency is stable, and then also maintaining voltage at the scheduled levels to ensure a stable transmission and efficient transmission of power and delivering voltage at the levels that the customer expects. And there's a variety of solutions that go into that. One is making sure that you have enough generation to have resource adequacy, so that you have adequate supply, kind of on the planning time scale. As you get into the operating time scale, kind of the day-to-day, hour-to-hour operations of the grid. MISO or Iowa is fortunate that it's part of the MISO grid, and a lot of those functions are handled through the MISO ancillary services markets. So it's something that I think you want to have accounting for those MISO rules and markets in your planning of the electric utility. Certainly the resource adequacy, I think there can be a greater role for the state in ensuring that the resource mix is in the years ahead basis, kind of the planning timescale, making sure you have enough generation and it fits the the profile that you would like. So those are the general ideas behind electric reliability in my mind. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Any other comments on reliability at this time? So with a follow-up question for reliability, and we heard it a bit in the answers provided so far, does resiliency need to be separately defined from reliability for the purpose of this review? To provide a background on resiliency, that's the ability to operate building energy services during and in response to major disruptions. So similar to outages, but more about disruptions to the service itself. Any comments from the stakeholders on that view? All right, similar question as far as if stability needs to be separately defined from reliability. Stability being the ability of an electric system to maintain a state of equilibrium during normal and abnormal conditions or disturbances. Do either of these terms in the views of the stakeholders need to be defined as separate from reliability, or does reliability consider both resiliency and stability of any utility services? Yes.
Hi, Samantha Norris, Council for the Iowa Economic Alliance. I think that for purposes of this discussion, that reliability can encompass resiliency and stability both, at least in our view.
Michael, is your hand, do you have another point?
Yeah, I was going to agree with that. I think, traditionally, NERC rules around reliability have encompassed both resilience and stability in terms of how the system is planned for both, transmission and generation, making sure that they're resilient and will be stable under all, conceivable operating conditions and contingencies. So I think, the NERC rules and other reliability rules generally encompass resilience and stability.
Margie McWilliams, Iowa American Water. I just wanted to add, I think that reliability should also go to natural gas and water. As you know, we're depending on natural gas to heat our homes and make sure we're warm and safe and don't freeze to death. And of course, water. I think that's something that's taken for granted all the time. You turn on your tap and there it is. So I'd like to add those as well.
All right, and lastly, with respect to these utility services, how should we evaluate affordability? Or a quick definition, as the prices are reasonable in relations to the customer spending power. Are there any views on how affordability should be evaluated? Yes.
Jennifer Easler, Office of Consumer Advocate. Some criteria we look at for affordability include arrearage data, disconnection data, the gas and electric utilities file, I think the rate regulated ones, file monthly data with their arrearage statistics, as well as their disconnections. And that's really important for us to review and to understand in terms of whether customers are able to pay their bills.
Any other comments on affordability at this time? Yes.
Rachel Niemeyer with Iowa American Water Company. I think it can also be viewed through the lens of household income. There are other ways to target that besides just arrearages. So that should be considered as well.
So Lori Williams on the phone. I can't figure out how to raise my hand when you're just on the phone. I'm sorry if I'm not first in line. But I wanted to just add to that last one. I'm from Sierra Club. That a common metric used to assess energy affordability is called a household's energy burden, which is representative of the percentage of a household's income that is spent on energy.
Thank you. We have Jim on Zoom with his hand raised.
Good morning, Jim Martin Schramm, Clean Energy Districts of Iowa. The point I was going to make was just made by the speaker from the Sierra Club. Affordability depends, of course, on how wealthy you are. And the reality is that the average energy burden in the state of Iowa is 3%. That is 3% of domestic disposable income spent on energy. But if you're in the 0 to 100% of federal poverty level, that number is closer to 10 or 12%. And so it's a significant difference. And so utilizing home energy burden scores that can be accessed through the Department of Energy's LEAD tool would be a useful device to measure affordability. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And we also have Joan on Zoom.
Hi, it's Joanne Worthington from Voltus. I have more than one device, so I apologize. I just wanted to add that, I don't know if this fits within the breadth of what you're looking at, but we also look at affordability in the concept of what you can avoid through demand response, energy efficiency, things you can do to shave peak if like you're a larger customer, or address like your demand charges, those sort of things. So I think that should also be a concept that's considered.
All right, thank you, Joanne. Dustin at the end.
Yeah, I think from a large industrial customer perspective, affordability is slightly different. Kind of our motto is we want to pay our fair share, but not above that. I think sometimes it's easy to do some of the analysis that's been shared and put it on larger consumers, and that's can be challenging because if the cost is more, our folks make quarterly.
I think you go back to
Just follow on that point. So you're saying that you're going to use highway at the affordability of utilities in Iowa?
It has to do with that whole, yes, it overall, yes, this is the primary thing, determining competitiveness in terms of economic development. That's why, business would choose to locate or relocate in lower cost search rate because it's more affordable. I think you're right with that.
I think challenge here for the board is, yes, you can all yes, understand the sense of and so you look for is around the more impacted, what's going on in the ultimately all you decide is that you're going to be and it's not for jobs to be policy for it maybe that's the survey that's the challenge that if trying to make a decision who's your the analysis is the same.
If you are comparing utilities, I think there needs to be a look at our utilities themselves being regulated similarly. Do they have the same opportunities present for construction operations, whatever it is, those things can all come into play as well when you're comparing utility to utility. So I just like those considerations not straight away.
I think this one is so hard for us to get for now, and 30, so let's kind of regulate these.